Welcome back to Jules Math Tools, where math is made easy. In this session, we are calculating equivalent fractions using division. And if you're ready to see how we're going to make these fractions equivalent, let's get started. So in our session today, we are going to be converting two fractions into their equivalent form using division. In our first example, we have 52 to the 65th and E5th. Now, in looking at your numbers, I want you to remember that these numbers have a relationship to each other. We need to see how we get 52 to equal to E, and also how we're going to get 65 to equal to 5. Now, for this process, division is involved in our working. So to do that, what I'll start with is by dividing 5 into 65. Now, for some persons, again, if you are at the level, you may be able to identify the number or the factor that you can divide 65 by right away to identify what is the number we will be using. But for some persons, you may need to go through your steps for division just to identify the number that you need to use. So we discovered here that 13 was divided into 65 to equal to 5. So that means that with my 52, I would also divide 52 by 13 to find out the unknown number that E represents. Now please remember that whenever you are making a fraction equivalent, both numbers have to be divided by the exact same number. If you divide one number by a different number, then your fraction is no longer an equivalent fraction, and the relationship between these two numbers has now been pretty much destroyed in some sense. So you have to make sure that when you are calculating your equivalent fraction, that both parts of your fraction are being divided by the exact same number. Now, if you do decide to pick a number that is not divided, or it probably may not divide out completely by the same number, that may be a case where your answer may be a decimal number or it may be incorrect. But in either case, I will also show you afterwards how you can check your answer just to verify that the answer that you got is actually correct. So with my 52, when it's divided by 13, this will equal to 4. So my E in this case is equal to 4. Now, as I stated earlier, whenever you get an answer, you can always check your answer. So we have 4/5, which is the fraction that I'm getting from my equivalent form. Now, if 13 is the number that I'm using to divide, I can also check my answer by now applying multiplication. So when I multiply 13 times 4, I should get back 52 in my numerator. If I do not get back 52, then that's a good indication that maybe the answer or the number that I use for my division, in this case, which is 13, is incorrect. And then when we did the same thing with 65, so I'm now going to take my 13 and multiply it by 5. And after I'm done multiplication, I should also get back 65. So you can see that we can use division to get our answer, and then we can go back and use multiplication to check or verify whether the answer is correct. So that's the great thing about your equivalent fractions. So let's go on to our next example. So in this example, we're going to be doing pretty much the same thing as we did in the first step, but I won't be going through as much of the working. So we're looking to find the value of our unknown variable f. So in 81 and 9, I know that when 81 is divided by 9, this will equal to 9, which means that I'm now also going to divide 27 by 9, which will equal to 3. Okay? So there you have it. We just calculated two equivalent fractions using division. And remember, as always, these are questions that you can practice on your own. You can even make up a few questions if you desire and practice changing them from one form to the other. But as always, do make sure that you get some additional practice in. And I'll see you right here in the next video on Jules Math Tools, where we aim to make math easy.